Michael Gove, Good Life, was this a deliberate echo of the 80s or 70s sitcom?
I don't think it was. No, I don't think that anyone was channeling their inner John Esmond or Bob Larby. I think that the whole point of talking about the Good Life was to emphasise that the sacrifices that the country's made over the course of the last 5 years in order to get the economic recovery that we're now enjoying, those sacrifices can now translate, if we stick with David Cameron as our Prime Minister, into a genuinely good life for citizens in this country. The chance to have their children better educated, the chance to have a home of their own, the chance to enjoy security and dignity in retirement.
Well, let's talk about, we're just hearing there the views on this extension of the right to buy scheme. Yes. 1.2 million people apparently possibly eligible to buy their homes, but all they're going to do is buy their homes. It's not going to create any more new homes, is it?
Yes, it is, actually. I mean, first of all, I don't think there's anything wrong with people wanting to buy their own homes. I presume that David Orr owns his home, or...
but I mean...
So there's nothing wrong with that.
But the aim, I mean, we're told we need, 240,000 new homes a year. This isn't going to generate those, is it?
Yes, it will. Because the £4.5 billion that we're taking from making sure that council properties in the top third of values are sold, and that the receipts are then invested in housing.
So this is different from the right to buy scheme you implemented over the last 5 years, which has only replaced half of the housing stock that's been sold.
Two things, I'd say. The first thing is that there are some local authorities that have been laggards, and certainly we will make sure that local authorities, if they do not spend the money that they've acquired from selling properties in order to replace them, we will take powers to ensure that
it hasn't worked. They haven't been
replaced.
I don't accept they haven't been replaced on a one-to-one basis.
No, there are some local authorities that have been laggards, but we have the power, and we will legislate to ensure that we have the resources to change that. But if we're going to make comparisons, I think it's important to recognise that we built 217,000 affordable homes in the lifetime of this Parliament, which is considerably more than Labour ever did.
But it's certainly not 240,000 a year, is it?
No, but we're going to increase the number of houses that we build overall, because the £4.5 billion which is liberated will enable local authorities not only to match the houses that are sold on a like-for-like basis, and also to help people in the housing association
No,
it's important to express this point.
The councils are going to take a hit because you're going to force them to sell their housing stock at below market prices.
If I could finish my answer.
So councils are going to have less money, not more.
No, they will have just enough money in order to ensure that they can replace the housing stock, because many of these properties, the top third of those which they have at the moment, are capable of being sold for hundreds of thousands of pounds.
Exactly. So they sell, council owns property, it sells it for below market price to rich people, because the only people who can afford those properties are rich people. You then give £100,000 to someone who happens to live in a housing association policy. It's not logic, it's bribes, that's all it is. And it's bribes for your people, isn't it?
Well, you own your own house, I'm sure, Adam, so why, is it bribery or somehow immoral to encourage people to own their own homes? Let me answer your first point, which you haven't
no one offered me £100,000. No one offered me £100,000 in exchange for my vote, which is what you're doing in this case.
No, we're certainly not doing that. I mean, lots of people offered you £100,000 in order to come and work on this programme.
Stick with David Cameron. If you live in one of these homes, you'll get £100,000 off the value of your property. That's what you're doing.
Yes, and it's quite right that people should have the chance to
But my point is, it's not generating housing, and we have a housing shortage, and we have a large number of homeless people in this council.
My point is that it will, because not only will it create the money for local authorities to match like for like an affordable home for every council home that's sold, it will also generate £250 million every year to take brownfield land, which is currently inappropriate for building, back into use, and that will create more homes as well.
Something which could have happened over the last 5 years, but it hasn't happened.
Well, you can't have your cake and eat it. You can't simultaneously say that this is a bribe,
no, but all I'm
and also that it's a bribe that we should have had earlier.
No, but my point is the message today was, let me finish the job. I'm saying David Cameron hasn't started it in terms of actually building affordable housing and providing people with housing.
Earlier in this interview, I mentioned the number of affordable homes he's built.
Yeah, and as we said, you said 217,000 over 5 years, and I said to you, the general agreement is we need over 250,000 a year.
Yes,
so
and we're going to build more.
That'd be 1.5 million, yeah.
And we're going to build more as a result of making sure that we liberate the money which is currently tied up. One of the things that we wanted to do, and which we've announced today that we will do, is to make sure that we can compel local authorities to sell these properties. One of the reasons that we weren't able to do so is because the Liberal Democrats vetoed that proposal. And one of the problems in your questioning is that the premise is that we had a majority to do exactly what we wanted.
Well, let's move on to another Liberal Democrat policy, raising the tax threshold.
Yes.
What is the point of taking... Put it but quite simply, David Cameron wasn't being honest, was he, when he said we're going to take people on minimum wage out of the tax net?
Why?
Because the average person on minimum wage works 43 hours a week. He would only take people out of the tax net who are working 30 hours a week, i.e. not working full time. So to say we're going to take people on minimum wage out of the tax net, it's not true, is it?
Well, it is true.
No, as I say, the average person on minimum wage will still pay tax, won't they?
Did we specify that it would be 30 hours?
Well, I think if you look at a promise, you say someone on minimum wage won't have to pay income tax, and you find that the average person on minimum wage will have to pay income tax because they work 43 hours a week. People might think that's a bit of a con.
Well, the promise is there, isn't it, that it's 30 hours? So
well,
how can it be...
Not in the headline, it's not. You won't say we'll take people working part-time on the minimum wage out of income tax.
30 hours. It was there specified in the policy.
And can I also ask you what the impact of someone working 30 hours a week on minimum wage will be in receipt of benefits and welfare, won't they? Because they won't have reached the minimum income.
They may well be in receipt of benefits, yes.
And what will be the impact of your cuts in welfare on that person?
Well, in-work benefits are going to be frozen.
Frozen, so they will still get the same amount of money?
Yes. You
can guarantee that?
No, the policy is that we'll save £2 billion in welfare by freezing in-work benefits.
Exactly, so they'll be worse off. Doesn't matter that they've been taken out of income tax because in real terms their benefit's going to be less.
Well, it depends what their benefit is at any given point. And it depends also...
Well, believe you me, if you're working 30 hours a week on minimum wage, you probably need benefits.
Yes, you do.
And you're going to freeze that.
Yes, but we're also going to take more people out of tax.
So that's what I mean. But the implication is we're going to take you out of income tax.
Yes.
We're going to give people on minimum wage something. You're not giving them something. If they work full time, they'll still be paying income tax. If they work part time, they'll be having their benefit frozen.
Won't they be paying less income tax?
They'll be having their benefit frozen, though, won't they?
But they will be paying less income tax, won't they?
Well, I don't know.
However many hours they work.
Well, it doesn't matter if you're having a benefit frozen, does it?
Yes, it does, because if you're having your income tax cut, then you're keeping more of your own money.
Can you say, hand on heart, someone on minimum wage will be better off under the Conservatives?
Well, it depends on the individual concerned, but as you've just, I'm afraid, demonstrated, you don't know.
Can you say
you don't know.
You can't. We haven't even got into where you're going to find the 20 billion uncosted spending plans which you've got here.
I know, that's because you keep interrupting. The point I made is that if you cut someone's income tax, then they are going to be better off.
Not if their benefit is cut.
No, but...
Or frozen.
Well, it depends on how much they get in benefit, but given how much we're going to cut their taxes by, then people will benefit.
And do you know how much you are going to cut the people's benefits by?
Well, I know we're going to cut their taxes so that no one who earns less than £12,500...
A part-time person on minimum wage?
No, that's the amount. Yeah, £12,500.
But it equates to someone working part-time on minimum wage.
It equates to someone working 30 hours, a point which you've laboured, but which is also happily underwritten in the manifesto.
Well, it's in the small print, I think we'd describe it as that.
Well, you might describe it as the small print. I would describe it as in the manifesto. It's not hidden away. It's no more in the small print than a news story. Your column in the Sunday Times is small print.
Just a final question.
Yes.
You've been saying that you only need 11,000 extra voters to win the election. Problem is that presumes you're going to hold every single one of the voters you had last time round as well, and then you need another 11,000. But Lord Ashworth's polls show you're not doing that.
I don't comment on polls. What I do see is that...
You do, because you're saying we need 11,000 extra.
Yes, well, that's talking about the general election, not opinion polls. They're two separate things.
That's just looking at this very, very narrow picture of the majorities which you need to overturn if everything else remains equal.
Yes.
And all I want to ask you is, do you honestly believe, after 5 years, everything else has remained equal?
Well, no, actually, I think that things are better. I think that we'll get many more voters than just 11,000 extra voters. I think that we will hold all the seats that we currently hold and win a number of seats from other parties, and we'll have a Conservative majority government.
OK, we will look forward to that, if indeed that's what the voters decide. Thank you.
Thank you.